You'll all know by now that my name's Chloe and I'm the marketing coordinator here at Illuminet. And today I'm joined by Rick Harriman, who is one of our associate partners of our US entity Illuminet Inc. and our third guest on Me, Myself and Illuminet today, a series where we're going to get to know a little bit about the wonderful colleagues and partners of Illuminet. So hi Rick, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Thanks.
So let's start off by getting to know a little bit about you. Nothing too professional at this stage, just tell me about you and your life.
Okay, so Rick Harriman, and I live in Southwick, Massachusetts, which is in the United States. I moved here just over 20 years ago, but I grew up on the West Coast of the United States, Alaska, Oregon, kind of grew up a country kid. But I like the East Coast because it's right in the middle of the action, right? So I like that. I'm married with 4 kids, 2 grandkids. We're actually coming up on our 30th anniversary this March, so that's pretty exciting.
That's nice.
I love playing golf, softball, working in the yard. I used to be a youth sports coach, really liked that, but I'm retired from that. I get pulled back into that every once in a while, and I'm an avid reader and writer.
So there you go. That's leads me on to my next question. What is your biggest passion?
I do like being outside, but I'm just fascinated with keeping up with some trends that I like to look at in tech and just some other nuanced areas. So I like to do some research just to build my own information, and I turn that into writing. I'm a big writer.
What do you write about?
So I'm in various places, right? So I've done a couple things for Illuminet, actually, and I like to write things that pop into my mind. I from a business perspective, I put those typically on LinkedIn, and you can find those. But I've also written a book about youth sports in limited edition. Even though it was published, only one copy was given out, and that was to my mom. I still have a copy. And then I'm in the middle of a few projects. I'm writing a book about experiences from the coaching world that apply to business. And I'm also in the throes of a couple fiction things that I'm working on. But I'm also a sports writer for the Los Angeles Rams.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And what was your mom's feedback then on your writing?
She loved it. I published it, got it done, and then I put it into e-format, and then I put it on her Kindle and gave her a Kindle. So
oh nice.
Yeah.
So what is a piece of writing that you would say you read and has stuck in your mind, and why? It could be something that you've wrote or something that you've read of someone else's. What was significant about it?
Yeah, so I have a few favorite things that I tend to go back to. I know it's tedious probably for some, but I love Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. It's just, I think it's, especially now, I think it's appropriate. And then I'm a big, I love the Wheel of Time series, but if you're going to start that, start now, and then you'll finish probably 20 years later. They're very thick, dense books.
Yeah.
And then I'm always reading something for mental, to try to make myself more mentally, better prepared, something business wise, and then something fun. So I have 3 books that I'm always in the middle of. Yeah.
And obviously you did, not so long ago for us, you did your 3-part series on LinkedIn.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was for CIO success. And it was just to help CIOs kind of look at how to maybe measure success differently.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I'll leave a link to that for anybody that's interested or watches this interview, perhaps.
Thank you.
So obviously you're based in the US, but have you traveled to the UK?
Not only have I traveled to the UK, but I actually lived there for 3 years. I did forget to mention that I was in the Air Force for 9 years, and I was stationed near Bedford in the UK at a base called RAF Chicksands. And I loved my time there. It was awesome.
Oh, brilliant. So I'm intrigued to know, because I've seen a lot of videos around this from people in America, but what is something that we do in the UK, or something that we have in the UK that you don't have in the US, and it makes you think, how strange, how bizarre, that's a very odd thing.
I I don't know about bizarre, and maybe it's because, I lived there when I was younger. I
Yeah.
moved there when I was 19, for the first time. I've been back several times. But I will say one of the things that I really miss, and this is going to sound odd, is because you can get it, but I love just being in the culture and having BBC, right? I love BBC.
Ah, oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think the programming on EBC or BBC is just, it's so original, and it's very good.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. It does have some great variety of stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting that they're trying to get rid of the TV license. Actually, obviously BBC won't go, but that whole TV licensing will be taken away. But anyway,
It's going to be different. It's going to be
yeah,
different. We're going to have a different model, in the next 3-5 years. So
yeah, it's interesting to see where they go with it. But yeah, so brilliant. Tell me a little bit about your studies. Did you study further education? Do you have a degree or a specific area of study that you cover in your title or your role?
yeah, I went to college while I was in the Air Force, and then I finished, right as I finished my Air Force career. So it took me about 9 years to get through college, because I was doing it while I was working.
Yeah.
I got my degree in computer management information systems, CMIS, from the University of Maryland. And my associate's is in Russian studies. I was actually a Russian linguist when I was in the Air Force.
Really? So you're fluent in Russian?
I am not fluent anymore. And some of my study buddies would have said I was never fluent in the first place. So
Interesting. So from that, then you've told us a little bit about your career, but what were you doing early days? Talk us through sort of the journey, I guess, of your career.
yeah, so I went from the Air Force to a small company in Maryland called Rapid System Solutions. We did a lot of integration consulting type things. I went from there to work for a larger company, Silicon Graphics. Very passionate about high performance computing, things like that. I worked in the professional services areas. I left there for a small startup. It took about 9 months for me to figure out that wasn't what I wanted to do, and I went to Dell in the managed services area. I was there for about 15 years. I went from Dell. It got bought by NTT. I made the transition to NTT. And I left them in July of this year. I was with them for about 15 years. And on my journey after I left there, I actually I joined Illuminet as an associate partner. I had met John Opsblum and Dominic Crisp on my journey with the NTT. They were partners of mine. And they wanted me to come aboard as an associate partner. And I've been doing that with Illuminet ever since.
Oh, brilliant. So yeah, that leads me on to my next question of sort of what do you do in your role as an associate partner at Illuminet? What have you been working on so far?
Yeah, so I'm really focused on some of our SI partnerships, right? Mm-hmm. So like NTT, Dell, Unisys, companies like that. I'm trying to figure out where we can work with them and where we can marry up for work projects, things like that. And some of my experience with them and a lot of the network that I know, we're making some good traction.
Tell us a little bit about CanMojo.
So after I left NTT, I was trying to figure out, do I want to go work for another company or, what do I want to do? And I had formed my own thing called CanMojo LLC. It's a consulting group, and it's just me, but it's widespread with partners such as Illuminet. I've got several other partners that I work with listed on my website, and people always ask me, why is it called CanMojo, right? And I answer with one of my funny lines is, you work with me, you open up a can of mojo, right? But in reality, what it is I took the first 2 letters of each one of my children's names and I moved them around to make the best I could to make a word. And so it's CANOMOJO, and that's the first 2 letters of each of my 4 kids' names. Not in birthing order, but in an order that makes sense.
Ah, that's interesting. It's nice to hear when company names have backstories like that, something a bit more to them behind the name.
Yeah.
Interesting. So my final question today is one that I ask everybody. What are you most excited for about the future working with Illuminet and partnering with us?
So the first thing I'll say is when I joined Illuminet, I knew enough about Illuminet to be dangerous, is what I call it, right? So I knew what Illuminet had done for me at NTT. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm inside the fence, not only is there so much more to what Illuminet can do than what they were doing just in that one area of NTT, but the things we're talking about and the things that we're gravitating toward are to me fascinating, right? And so I'm working with like Kit Neal on what kind of technology platforms we want to be looking at. Always working with Dom and John and Anna Sue to figure out which clients we want to be talking to about these. But I think it's exciting just in the fact that we are a very diverse and quick to mobilize group of true consultants that can get in and figure things out. And as we're working on those things, we're coming up with new solutions and new products around services. And that's just exciting to me because in my time with larger SIs, we always try to put a product box around some of the services we were doing to make it easier to sell, easier to understand. Mm-hmm. And I would say we had some mixed success, but Illuminet does it very well. The future is bright with Illuminet, I can say that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally vouch for that as well. Well, there we have it. That is another episode of Me, Myself and Illuminet done. 3 in the bag. So thank you again, Rick, for joining us today. It really has been a pleasure to get to know you and a little bit about the hard work that you do for Illuminet. So brilliant. Thank you so much and see you next time, everybody.
All right. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you.